Now, I would say my parents, Dan and Kirsten Chantier. They just knew I was special, they said. And they wanted to be there for me and help me out. So as they became part of my life and always checking on me, going to my games, making sure I was okay, making sure I had food to eat. And by then, my sister had moved back to Bradenton, and I had moved back in with her. And by now, she had bring in one of my brothers. Well, not even my brother. He's her brother, but I call him brother. So he came and he lived with us. And at that time, I was working, going to school, going my young life, and just. But every time I would go home, all the people that paid attention to me from young life, once a week they saw me, or on the weekends they would invite me places. Whenever it was time for me to go home, I would go from being high energy to very happy to like, oh, I really got to go home now. Oh, man. So little by little, they just started to ask questions like, hey, what's going on? Like, how's home? And oh, it's okay. And of course, I didn't want to put her down or saying she's not trying, but I was just seeing if I could hang out with you guys for a little longer. And so by then, they talked to my sister one night, and they're like, hey, is there anything we can do? So by then, they started bringing groceries to the house for us, helping my sister out, taking me and my nephews away on the weekends just to bring us to church activities or just invite us to pools or wherever they can take us to take the stress off my sister. And while my brother was there, I was still working, he would find a way to take my money. My money I had, I would hide it in my sock drawer. I would hide it in my pillow. I would have it in my pocket. Somehow he would take it from me. And tell my sister nothing would happen. And by then, my relationship with Dan and Kirsten has gotten stronger and better. And this is probably, so from then, I would just try to find ways to go to their house after school or after practice and like, hey, may I get a ride home? So that's less time I spend at home. And funny thing is, that summer of my sophomore year, I said I had enough again. I left my sister's home, lived with friends, and by then my sister had hatred for me because I left. I wanted to do better for myself, so I left. And so I continued my life, and I just started living with friends, renting rooms, and that's through all junior year. And I used to tell people at school also on Mondays when Kirsten would go to the school and invite people to Young Life, like, hey, that's my mom. Don't know why, but it was in my heart to start calling her mom before she went and did what she did for me later in life, but I'll get to that. So I ended up living with a good friend of mine, Ryan Gordon. That was by now, it's beginning our senior year. It was him, his brother's best friend, his brother's girlfriend, and me. We lived together, but unfortunately, my friend Ryan, after a few months, went down the wrong street, just getting in the wrong activities. So his parents made him move back home, and so by now it's just me and his brother and his brothers. So because I was paying so little amount of rent, they decided to move a complete stranger into my room to share rooms with me and a bed to help with rent. But for me, that was the only place I had to go, so I had no say-so. And so at that time, the guy named was Keith. It was good. He was nice. And he was clean, and we talked a lot. And he had told me how he was going to get a apartment with 3 bedrooms, and one was his, one was a friend of his, and the other one was free if I wanted to join, because he can tell the living situation was not good here. And for me, it was a great opportunity. I took up on his offer, and we went and lived together. But again, just like I felt when I first came to the United States, just like I felt when I went back to Homestead every time, I didn't fit in. By now, I'm 18 years old, 17 and a half, 18 years old, and I live with 25-year-olds that go out, work career jobs, and here I am still going to school. So I stayed in my room a lot. And I want to say after four months, I could hear them talk bad about me, put me down, basically didn't want me living there anymore. They wanted someone their age to live there and to be part of their living situation. And so by then, Dan and Kristen were still a big part of influence in my life. I was spending holidays with them. I would go to their house. They would make sure I was okay. And they would talk to me probably every day to check on me, make sure I was okay. And then I was working at Outback Steakhouse as a dishwasher. And one day, I still don't remember why, I was fired. I was fired. I remember telling Dan and Kirsten what happened. And I went home and I told the guys, hey, what happened? Lost my job, but I'm going to get another job tomorrow. And that was morning. I went to school, went to practice. Later on that evening, I came home. When I got home, the little stuff that I did have was thrown in the front yard and everywhere. And I knocked on the door, and I remember Keith looking at me still to this day and said, we don't want you here anymore. And you don't have a job. How can you pay your rent? And he just slammed the door in my face. And for me, probably one of the scariest moments of my life, because now I've let Dan and Kirsten down, and I don't have a place to go, and I don't know what to do. So I just cried and begged for 20 minutes, and no help, no mercy upon me. So I remember just taking the little things I had, putting on the side of the house, and just manning up and walking around and asking why and why me, until eventually I slept at a bus stop for a couple hours. And then I was like, wait, I'm going to get arrested. I'm scared. So I found my way behind Ryan Gordon's house. And I spent the night in his back patio area. And in the morning, I knocked on his window and just said, hey, can I get a ride to school? And went to school, told no one of what happened to me the night before, told them nothing of my situation, just wondering how can I get a job, how can I get out of this circumstance. And I'm in first period, just sad, don't know what's going on, trying not to let it get me down. And I get the teacher say, Junior, you have a visitor. No, what can go wrong now? Because I just, in my mind, something happened and it's going to get even worse, because that's what my life's been. And instead, I remember walking towards the office, and I look up, and here she is. My mother, Kirsten, she's standing in front of the office, big old smile, and just happy to see me. And for me, I'm just like, oh no, I got to tell her what happened. She's going to be mad at me. She's going to be disappointed at me. And by the time I got there, she just was happy, and she gave me a hug, and she said, hey, how are you? I remember it to this day. How are you? And I said, I'm fine. And she said, hey, I know everything's rough right now, and we want you to know that God loves you, we love you. And she gave me an Old Navy baby blue jacket with white stripes on it and told me, I know it's getting cold, so we want you to have this. And then And, and then she said, and we also want you to have this. And she gave me an envelope with, I opened it, and it was my rent check for 2 months. They were going to pay my rent for 2 months so I didn't have to worry about being homeless or not knowing what to do. And that's when I just started crying. I just started crying and crying and crying, and she just grabbed me, embraced me, and told me, it's okay, it's okay. What's wrong? And I told her what happened. And she said, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry. And she asked me, where's my stuff? And I told her it was on the side of the house. And she goes, okay, don't worry. She pointed a spot outside of the school. And she said, you see that spot right there? And I said, yes. She goes, I'll be there at 2:05 to pick you up. Don't you worry about anything. We love you. God loves you. And everything's going to work out. And at 2:05 or 2:07, when I got there, she was there. She was there at the exact spot she said. And her